Hi, welcome, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity to kind of present information on our current reference model and how I think it could be improved. As we know, right now we use the combined circulation reference desk. It is centrally located in the library, and we have two staff members currently stationed behind the desk at all times during every shift. In this situation, this model has worked for us. It's worked fine, but it could always. I think there's always room for improvement, and I think this is one way that we could do that. And one way to do that is with a kind of a roaming reference model. That is having a member of staff leave the desk, go up to the floor, and interact with patrons, offer assistance, ask if they're finding things. It's been described as kind of a retail model. And I think it's a good one. But in order for it to work, there has to be some device, something that connects the staff member to the desk, to the databases, to our OPAC, to to all of the services that we offer to fulfill people's information needs. And one way to do that is with an iPad, a tablet computer. And so, some of our benefits of this kind of program is that we are expanding our services in the face of budget cuts. We're trying something new. Hopefully our patrons are aware of our tight budget situations. And they see us, as I said, expanding our services, trying something new, going, not kind of retreating in these kind of hard times, but attempting to show our importance, that sounds bad, but do you know what I mean? Show how important we can be to their lives, to their informational needs. And having staff members walk around with an iPad looks cool. That's certainly not the best reason to do this. It's a rather shallow reason, but it's an important reason. It's especially when you're looking at a public library. We need to seem current and necessary to our parents, to our patrons, and I guess to our parents too, to our patrons. And if this is a way that we can do that, then if that even helps us out a little bit, I think it's worth the cost of implementing the system, which we will get into here in a little bit. But it's also easier to do now because with a lot of the vendors and databases that even the state of Michigan offers, they have mobile versions of their sites now. Versions of their sites that are streamlined, less graphics, less just website busyness, and they are optimized for smaller screens, smaller devices, like people's smartphones, tablet computers like the iPad, that sort of thing. And this wasn't the case, even 2 or 3 years ago. This has really been kind of a recent improvement to these services. And the fact of the matter is that some people won't come up to the desk and ask for help. We have seen people, even in the small library, we have seen people wandering the floor looking lost. Like they've never been in this building before and they still won't come up and ask for help. And that is a situation all across, in every library. There was a term coined in the research that I found called library anxiety, and it's that people actually feel shame in coming up and asking a librarian for help. And I don't know if that has to do with kind of the stereotypical view of librarians as being kind of mean, nasty creatures, but whatever it is, it's a real feeling that people have had. And even if you look at our current situation, we have the circulation desk, and behind it, we have the circulation, counter where the computers are. And then behind that, we have 2 desks that are staff work areas. And so the staff on duty are sitting behind the desk, away from the actual circulation counter at these desks, usually doing other duties. And so even if our patrons don't feel shame, even the best intentioned ones probably feel from time to time that they are interrupting us. And even the friendliest librarian, the biggest smile on the face to convey that you're not. Do you know what I mean? That I think it's one thing to come up to the desk when you are ready to leave and check out, and I think it's another to interrupt people when you just have a question. And I think those are the people that we are possibly hurting by this current model. And also, when our patrons, they are bogged down when they come in. They have their papers, they have their library items that they've taken from the shelves, but then they have their laptops, they have their iPhones, they have their MP3 players, they have all this other technology, and it's not as simple as getting up and going to the desk, even in a small library. You can, because we have seen recently that you cannot leave your electronics unattended here in the library, even in the small town library. So our patrons are tied to their tables. So this allows us to go out to them and offer assistance, even if they don't need it. Just going out and saying, hey, can I help you? That sort of thing. We're showing that we are aware of their situation and that we are here to help. So those are kind of a quick, rather quick run through of the benefits of the system, and it's more, and I think it can be summed up as just like, it's us trying. Summed up by saying it's us trying. We're attempting to help our patrons in a new and I think a better way. But that being said, there are also substantial costs to the program, and one of them is that it involves a great deal of planning. The system has to be worked out before it can be implemented. Obviously, that's the same with any change, but what hours are we going to offer it? All hours that we're open, only certain days, only certain hours where we feel we're busiest. How do we do it? How is the staff chosen to roam? Is every member going to be doing it from time to time? How is it evaluated? It's easy enough for staff to say, oh, I helped one or two people this round, but how beneficial are those interactions? Some libraries have posted surveys, that sort of thing. Even electronic surveys where they just hand over the device afterwards and the person takes the survey immediately, so we get immediate feedback. And then which device do we use has to be decided. And also the training involved when we decide on that device. The actual cost, an iPad is in the $400 to $500 range. A mini version was just released, which is a little bit cheaper. And then there are also alternatives, though. Google, Amazon all have their own versions of tablets out there. And actually Microsoft is the latest entry, the Surface. But like I said, with that training, another cost is the staff time. Tablets are touchscreen, so staff members who don't have smartphones, who don't use touchscreens, they have to be accustomed to that. Keyboards could be purchased, but those accessories are extra money on top of the devices. And it's more cumbersome. You have to carry the keyboard with you plus the device when you go out there. Kind of defeats the purpose. But it's just important for the staff to obviously be familiar with the device before we're sent out there to actually interact with the patrons. And then also, staff could be uneasy about this kind of retail approach, about going up to patrons, offering assistance, seeing if they need help. It can make them uncomfortable. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And something that would require training too. Who to approach, how to approach them, all that stuff. There's a good way to do it, and it can be taught. You know what I mean? It's just like any other skill. Recognizing who wants your help or who is open to being helped and that sort of thing. So that's the system. The pros and cons, hopefully more pros than cons. But I guess just as a final thought, that this is where reference is headed. If you look at our own collection, we've weeded it extensively because the information is available online. Our databases, it's immediate access. Patrons can print out full page or full text articles. They can get their answers immediately. And this, the roving gives us the opportunity to join that world, to appear vital in our patrons' current lives, and just worthy of their time to come in here, to bring the stuff to the library that we can help them. We can give them answers. We can give them answers immediately. And hopefully if we're worthy of their time, when elections roll around, we're worthy of their support. Kind of a crass way of looking at it, but true. Okay, so that's really all I have to say about the iPads and the devices, and hopefully you agree with me that it's worth our time and money. Do we have any questions? Well, it doesn't have to be. The question was why an iPad? It doesn't have to be. I chose the iPad because the literature about the topic uses iPads. Most of it was about the iPad, almost exclusively about the iPad. And it's the dominant tablet in the market. There's, so we know that it's powerful enough to do what we will ask for. But that being said, there's the Nexus, which is the Google tablet. There's the Surface, the new Microsoft tablet. And then even Amazon and Barnes & Noble, the Fire, the Kindle Fire, and the Nook all have tablets. We know they're all tablets. But like I said, we know that the iPad can do what we're going to ask of it. I imagine the Nexus will do what we ask of it. I think it gets trickier using the Kindle and the Nook. But that's just, without any research, that's just my first instinct into that. And actually one study found that the iPad wasn't the important thing. That it was the ticket, it was the introduction, and that they used it probably 2/3 of the time to look it up. But then the other third of the time, they would just kind of explain it, and the patron would look it up on their computer, or they'd walk them over to the OPAC station. And I think that really is just depending on the question. If they're asking us, do we have To Kill a Mockingbird in, we probably don't need to pull up the OPAC on the iPad when we can walk 20 feet to the OPAC and look it up. Or we could walk them just as easily over to the shelves and check. But I think for the more intensive questions, I think having the device with you is helpful. It's around $400, $500. The cost of the iPad. That's the initial cost, and that's of course depending on the size, what kind of internal memory and storage we want with our devices, and then any accessories, whether we want the keyboard, we want anything like that, cases, that sort of thing. We probably at least want a protective case. The iPad, out of all the options, is the most expensive. Like I said, the Surface, rumor has it, the most top-end version is going to be up around $1,000, but I don't think we need the top-end version, frankly, so that's just my opinion. But then there'll be continuing costs. Any apps, libraries have created their own apps for searching, that sort of thing. But data plans, all that stuff, will be continuing costs built on top of the initial purchase. Excuse me. So yeah, and my initial feeling was that, especially with these tight budget times, this might be something we use grants for. We look for grants that maybe are, expanding technology, expanding reference services, something like that, or asking the friends for money. But obviously, I know that this is it's a large amount of money, no matter what we do, how we run the system. It's a large amount of money to be taking in these times. I think we could do it with one. Yeah, just one. 2 is probably ideal. How would we run the system? The roving reference here at this library. I think 2 would be ideal, but we could do it with 1. With only 2 members of the desk staff at the time, one person takes it, goes on the floor, whether it's in conjunction with other duties, shelving or something like that, or just making a specific reference round. But I think we could do it with 1. The reason I said 2 would be ideal is for training. I think only having 1 device, even we have 8, 9 people out at the desk staff. So having 1 device to circulate between all members, to give them adequate time to be familiar with the device, I think it would really hinder the system, at least to get it started. We would, yeah. And the reason, yeah, I think we could do it with 1. We could do it with 1, but like I said, I think 2 would be ideal. Okay? All right. Well, thank you again, guys.